You want to be able to turn your head.
It sure made backing out of the driveway easier.
See what I can do.
Hello and welcome to a modern figure review. I don't do too many brand new toys on the channel, but here we go. It is the new 12-inch Spin Master Dark Knight Batman figure, and normally I would have zero interest in a figure like this, except I'm looking for some drivers for some Hot Toys Dark Knight Batman vehicles, and the Hot Toys Batman figures have some limitations. You've got posability limitations. You can damage them by putting them in the vehicles, by bending them in certain ways they're not supposed to bend. So I thought, well, maybe this Spin Master figure will work. So let's open it up. Get the old Rambo knife out. There's these are extremely affordable. Another advantage of putting these in Hot Toys vehicles is if you put a Hot Toys Batman in the Tumbler, you don't get to see it, and it's like a $250-$300 figure that's not visible in the Tumbler unless you open it up. This guy, I think, looks fantastic. It was $13 on Amazon, $10 I'm assuming in the States. Like Amazon, delivered to your door. You don't even have to go toy hunting for it. Incredible detail on it. But just sitting in the Tumbler, if you have like a light in the Tumbler, just to light up the rider a little bit, the driver, I think this head sculpt, as well as the detail on the body, is more than good enough to be seen through the window. And he's also able to grab onto any steering wheel or handlebars or gears or anything like that. So let's get him out of his packaging, take a look at his articulation, and then the main purpose I got it for is see how compatible it is with some Hot Toys vehicles. The main reason I got it was to see how compatible it is with some Hot Toys vehicles. And a 360. His cape is a little wrinkled because of the way it was in the packaging, but probably very easily fixed if you just want to iron it out, steam it out. Really amazing sculpt. This figure constantly impresses me with how good it looks for the price. Cheap toys have come a long way. It's all hard plastic, which is great for the Hot Toys vehicles, but it doesn't look like it's all hard plastic. There's these bits in between the armor that have kind of this rubbery texture to them, even though it's all just one piece. The head sculpt is really, really nice. Obviously not to the standard of Hot Toys, but you're not paying for a Hot Toys figure here. Really nice paint application on the mouth. Lips are a different color, the eyes. I think this is actually a case of you don't get what you pay for, because this is so much more than like a $10 figure. And let's test out his articulation before we start putting him in Bat Gadgets. Unfortunately, the head is pretty much only left and right. He's got just ever so slight up and down. I think that's more a result of the way it's sitting on a ball. It's not really full ball joint articulation. It's not enough to look up when he's on the Batpod, but you can go, all the way around if you want. What's really impressive to me is the shoulder and the hip articulation on all of these 12-inch Spin Master figures. That's incredible for such a cheap figure. I know Hasbro does some cheap 12-inch figures too, but they really lack in the arm articulation. Not much elbow articulation here. That's a shame. That would have come in more handy in both of the Hot Toys vehicles. but as I always say, it's still better than nothing. And then what's really awesome is this. It's on a ball joint. That's really cool. And wrist articulation is very necessary for both vehicles for grabbing those grips. No waist twist, no ab crunch, unfortunately, but you can kick forward, and I bet you he's got good enough balance to do one of those old school Spartan kicks I used to do all the time on the channel. Oh boy. There you go. I think a slight breeze will knock him over. Nope. He's on there. So, not the tightest joints. Doesn't take much to move them, but sturdy enough to hold him up for a kick. And you can almost do those Van Damme ultimate splits. That's extremely impressive as well. And where he really shines is the knee articulation. So although the elbows don't bend much, the knees can go into that full soccer kick. It's extremely necessary for the Batpod. That's one of the problems the Hot Toys figures have. On the Hot Toys Batpod, not enough knee bend because of the rubber suits. And then unfortunately, nothing in the foot. No ankle tilt, no nothing. There's always a plus to every minus though. Without any cuts, any articulation, you get a nicer boot sculpt. Just an uninterrupted boot sculpt with no lines, and it looks nice. And the cape is nice. It's cloth. That's a big plus. Wouldn't be able to sit in the Tumbler if he had one of those rubber capes. And it's a little on the short side, but I believe they shortened it in the second movie, in The Dark Knight, because the cape in the first movie was really long and flowing, and he could wrap himself up in it. And from some of the stills I've seen, never really get a good look at it in the movie, but in some of the stills, it looks like the cape is just about this length, a little shorter so it just doesn't get in his way. And before I try to put him in the vehicles, there's a side-by-side comparison with one of the Hot Toys Dark Knight figures. They've done a couple of releases. Whatever the first one was, that's what this one is. And one advantage this one has over this one is that he can stand without a stand quite easily, actually. And the Hot Toys cannot. Ankles aren't strong enough on him, and the boots aren't rigid enough, so he needs a stand. This one's made up of rubber materials. I guess he does have a bigger cape. It's not long. It doesn't flow on the ground. So by comparison, I'm thinking this one's probably more movie accurate. This one is very thin. Probably not too hard to replace this cape. You could probably just pull it out of there and tuck a new one in there. There's customs on eBay. But here they are side by side, and this one looks incredible, but is notorious for how limited his articulation is because of all of the rubber. You can barely get his elbow to bend and hold something up like that. If you put him in a seating position in the Tumbler, you're going to get creases on the belly, on the leg. Sometimes it splits. This guy looks almost a different scale. He's quite a bit smaller. Like, his head is definitely smaller than the Hot Toys. He's a little bit taller too. The ears go up a little higher than the other one. He's not quite as wide. Just a tiny bit smaller, and I mean, if a little kid is playing with this, they don't care. They're free of all of the scale nitpicking that adults are plagued with. But if you want to get this one as like a cheap driver for for your Hot Toys Tumbler or Batpod. And I think the slightly smaller size works in his favor because this guy is a nightmare to put in the tumbler. I had to take his head off and ever so carefully just finagle him into it, swing a leg over the steering console. It is really difficult and frustrating. Pop his head back in once you get the body positioned. The cape is all over the place, in the way, wherever you look. Never quite looks right with this giant bulky cape, which is another reason why I like the little cape. It's not really in the way when he's in the tumbler. So much about this figure seems like it was made for the Hot Toys vehicles. And one more customization to do to him to get him to be compatible with the tumbler. He can sit in the tumbler just fine. You can have his hands resting on the control stick, but if you want him to actually wrap his hand around the control stick, you need to grab yourself a knife, and all you gotta do is ever so carefully, I guess probably better than a knife would be an X-Acto knife, and just run it in between these two fingers here so that his trigger finger comes separate from the rest of his fingers. If you don't do that, he won't be able to get his whole hand onto this control stick. Let's see if I can do this on camera. See, there's just, despite being a little smaller than the Hot Toys figure, the hand is just a little too wide, tall, in order to grip the whole thing. This might look fine to you, but that's not how it plugs in to the tumbler. See, this right here has to twist forward in order to plug into the control stick. And when you do that, this finger that I've cut separates from the rest of the hand, allowing this control stick to twist forward perfectly like that. Now it can plug into the control stick that is in front of him when he's sitting. If you want him to grip both of the control sticks, just run an X-Acto between those two fingers. I like having him have his hand on whatever that thruster thing was in the middle of the console. So I haven't done that customization to him yet. But yeah, he actually has enough range in his arms. Not just the elbow bend, but especially thanks to the twist. Thank you, Spin Master, for putting this twist ball joint. He has tons of range to grab the control sticks. And you can see this will always want to turn back this way. That's one of the issues with fitting this guy in the tumbler. But I'm gonna grab the humongous tumbler. Hopefully it'll fit on this little light box here. Okay, time for the fun part. Definitely not fun if you're trying to do this with a Hot Toys figure. Everybody with a Hot Toys Batman, either the Batman Begins or the Dark Knight version, who's tried to put this in a tumbler, knows exactly how frustrating this can be, and you saw just how easy that was. I just plopped him in, easy as can be. Luckily, this steering contraption can slide out of his way. And now, see this control stick, this other one is connected. It comes out as well, but I've got it plugged in there. And then there's this throttle type of thing with a screen there. So like I said earlier, you just, again, thank goodness there's a wrist twist. You can just set the hand on there. You could open the hand up. I guess heating it with a hairdryer would help a lot more so that he can properly grab it, but I'm fine with how that looks. The cape is not an issue at all. It just sat right in there automatically, perfectly. One tricky part is getting this control stick to... Oh, I got it. Lucky. Plug in there. Now the control stick is secured in there. Just trying to twist this guy a little bit to get him centered on his seat. He's got just enough head articulation. I feel like he's leaning a little to one side too much, so we can move the legs a little bit. Straighten the arm out. Again, there's stuff in here that helps a lot too. It helps that this goes up and down, so you can position it to where it needs to be, as well as this thing. There he is, Batman sitting in the tumbler. And the reason why I really like having a super cheap figure in here is because you can't actually see him in there all that well when this thing is opened. When it's closed, you can't see him at all because of the tinted windows. And this thing is a dust magnet. But when it's sealed up, you can't see him at all. When you open it up, he's in there, but he's in the dark. Let me change my exposure here to give you a better idea of what he actually looks like. Because I've got 4 big box lights shining on him right now. This is more like what it actually looks like. So in this thing, in the dark, you can't really even tell that this isn't a $300 or $400 Hot Toys figure. And then what's really cool is that if you get some of these custom lights, you can find them on Amazon, these little remote LED lights that are color changers. When you actually seal this thing up, you will be able to see him in there. All I have to do is position the lights. I got 2 at the front, 1 on the side seat, and 1 actually right between his legs shining up in his face. So when I turn those lights on, now in addition to the windows all being lit up, you can see a Batman through the window. And this particular set that I have of LED lights has different colors. So you can go red, green, blue looks nice, but it's very dark. Lighter blue, there's purple, another lighter blue. The blues are nice, but they're just so dark you can barely see anything in there. I find the yellow is really nice. Gives you that Batman Begins type of color. Orange is nice, but it just looks a little too dark. I usually go between red, which looks more like the new Robert Pattinson Batman look, or yellow. Gives them that Batman Begins look. And the reason I like the idea of using a Spin Masters 12-inch Batman figure in this is because these windows are, I'll also show you, white. So that's no color at all. These windows are a little tinted. You can't really see through them all that clearly. And there's one of the LED lights. It's kind of distorted. So I did have a Hot Toys figure in here. I also have a Takara Batman Begins figure in here, and it just seems like a waste of money having like a really expensive, highly detailed figure barely visible. Now I'm zoomed in here on a 4K camera. That's not what you're going to be seeing. This is more like what you're going to be seeing. You're going to be seeing a little Batman through a tinted plastic window that's not crystal clear. And so this to me looks exactly the same. This $10 figure looks the same as a $200 or $300 figure through the window. Plus, it's nice to know that you're not ruining your $300 or $400 Hot Toys figure by having him in a seated position with joints bent in a way that will make the rubber crack. And here he is inside with the lights on in there. Yellow, orange, the red looks really nice, and purple looks good too. All colors look nice on the Batman. And white. This thing is so humongous, I can't give you a full shot of the tumbler. It's my tripod is as far back as I can get it. This thing is absolutely gargantuan and ridiculously huge. This is like USS Flag levels of absurdity in gigantic toys. And you've already seen this one recently on the channel. In the Batpod video I just did, I went pretty in depth on how to get this guy to fit on the Batpod. But I've done 2 customizations. Very, very easy, quick customization since that video. So I wanted to share those with you as well. The first customization, extremely easy, is I just took some like electrical wiring, black wiring. It doesn't exactly look all that nice on this clean white background, but I just took some wires. I didn't like how the cape was just sitting flat, and so I swear this looks better just like on a shelf instead of with the white background really showing off the shortcomings of this quick, easy method. But if you're not much of a customizer like myself, I'm not all that crafty, I just took the wire, I wrapped it around his waist, and then ran one out to one side and ran the other out to the other side. Got some 2-way carpet tape, and I've just stuck the cape onto the wire so that it won't slide off. The cape can sit on the wire, but I found it kept sliding off the cape, so the 2-way carpet tape just keeps it on there, and you can run it along the whole wire if you want. I haven't done that. And then I didn't really like how that looked because it just was 2 on either side. I wanted a little bit of a flow in the middle, so all I did was take a 3rd piece of wire and wrapped it in through there so that it presses against his belt, and then pushed it up, and there you go. You can see what I did. A little bit of carpet tape on there as well, and now there's a little bit of flow there. I don't want any like really heavy duty industrial tape on there, adding like permanent stickiness to the cape, which is why I've just put like a really, really tiny thin piece which lets go like it just did there a couple seconds ago. Very easy to reattach, and it's very manageable. It's very futzable, which is what I love about the 12-inch scale. You can be just nudging and futzing a little bit. Makes a big difference having that cape flowing behind him like so. And then the other really important must-have customization is to allow him to look up. So the figure as it was, as you saw in the Batpod video, was looking straight down, which is okay, but this is such an easy customization. Why not? Again, like I said, I'm not crafty. I got a power drill with some drill bits, and this was so incredibly easy. I'm going to show you how to do this and also give you a warning. So that is the ball joint that normally attaches so that he would be looking straight down on the Batpod. And what I've done, I've drilled a new hole right there. If you want to do this, and actually that's kind of cool. The white background is showing you where I drilled too far. So you can't drill much. I thought I had more to go than I did, but if you drill in relation to the original neck post hole right in behind his nose, don't go too far, because if you do, you're going to start to get right into the corners of his eyes. So not noticeable at all when I have him displayed, and noticeable if I hold it right up to the lens with a 4K camera. I'm not at all concerned about that, but that happened from drilling too far, so if you want to do this customization, just a warning that you don't really have all that far to go, but you don't need to go all that far. Use the smaller drill bits and then try the head on there and increase the size of the drill bits as you go. Don't start with a huge one. You can always take off more, but you can never put some back if you've drilled too much. And also, if you're doing this, don't press down on the Batpod. It is still ridiculously fragile. I almost forgot that rule. That have a hand underneath there or underneath here if you're doing this. Don't be putting any pressure on the Batpod, but that's how simple it is. Just drilled a second hole, and now he can look up, and he looks spectacular. That's a must-have for any Batman figure on a Batpod, being able to look up. So that makes a $10 figure even more amazing. It's already pretty spectacular, but you can't beat that. And it's so light. It's not putting any extra pressure on the Batpod. It's really amazing that Spin Master put out the perfect rider for a Batpod, a Hot Toys Batpod. There you go, 12-inch Spin Master Dark Knight Batman figure. Really incredible bang for your buck. One of the best cheap figures, if you want to use that word, affordable figures I've seen in a long time. I think any kid would be really ecstatic to have this because it's got some really awesome articulation, posability, incredible detail for the price point. Great articulation, way better articulation than a lot of the other 12-inch cheapo all plastic figures in the same price range. I'm actually really excited for Spin Master to do some more of these. Maybe they'll do a Rachel Dawes. I'm personally hoping for a Jim Gordon 12-inch figure. Hot Toys did one, but it's like $300. Or I'm not the biggest fan of The Dark Knight Rises, but Anne Hathaway Catwoman to put on this Batpod for people who like that movie and like that character in that movie. So keep up the awesome work, Spin Master. Doing a fantastic job with the 12-inch figures. Very impressed. Thanks for checking out the review, and thanks as always to the Patreon tribe for supporting the channel, and thanks to the channel panel for supporting the channel as well. Good night, good luck, God bless, and Nerdmaste.